I want to welcome each of you. I'm Jim Bradford, Dean of the Owen Graduate School of Management, and this is a celebratory day. It's a day that we greatly enjoy each year, and I want to welcome the families, the friends, our guests, our noted faculty, and our graduates to this outstanding ceremony. We are honored today to be doing a number of things. We will be hearing from our speaker, who I'll introduce in just a second. We'll be recognizing students for their achievement and faculty for their achievement. And we will, I think, enjoy this morning greatly. I trust and hope that after this ceremony is completed and we've handed out the diplomas, that you will return to the Owen School and celebrate with us a little bit. There'll be strawberries and other beverages of various mixture and sort to drink. And so I hope you'll enjoy those very much. Today I am honored to introduce to you our commencement speaker, Robert Greifeld, CEO of NASDAQ OMX Group, the world's largest exchange company. Bob assumed the leadership in 2003 when the company's primary business was operating one equity market in the U.S. Today, NASDAQ OMX is a leading participant in the exchange and technology sector, delivering trading, listing, financial market technology, and public company services across 6 continents. I'll let the ambulance go by here for a second. Bob has led NASDAQ's OMX through a series of complex, innovative acquisitions that have extended its footprint across the world. Most recently, he led the exchange combination with Stockholm-based OMX AB, as well as the acquisition of the Philadelphia Stock Exchange, the Boston Stock Exchange, the Nord Pool, Europe's largest power market. NASDAQ OMB operates 22 markets, 10 clearing houses, and supplies technology to another 65 exchanges around the world. Under his leadership, the growth of the NASDAQ stock market has been consistent and enviable, with 16 consecutive quarters of top-line growth. In January 2009, NASDAQ OMX was named Company of the Year by Forbes magazine, and in March, it was ranked as one of the 50 best-performing companies in the United States as part of the Business Week 50. We are proud to have 2 distinguished alums serving as part of his management team. Eric Knoll, an MBA graduate from 1990 as Executive Vice President, Transaction Services, and Adina Testa-Friedman, class of 1993, Executive Vice President, Corporate Strategy, and Chief Financial Officer. Prior to joining NASDAQ OMX, Bob led a buy-side business of SunGard Data Systems. He was an entrepreneur for 10 years, and I suspect still is. And with a small team created what became the industry's standard trade order management system for NASDAQ stocks. Bob holds a Master's of Business Administration from New York University's Stern School and a BA in English from Iona College. His graduate school thesis was, oddly enough, and perhaps predictably enough, on the operation of the NASDAQ stock market. He is a member of the Business Roundtable, the Financial Services Roundtable, the Partnership for New York City, an organization devoted to enhancing the local economy. He is chairman of the U.S. Track and Field Foundation, which supports emerging athletes and inner-city youth athletes. Please join me in warmly welcoming our speaker today, Bob Greifeld. Bob.
Well, thank you, Dean Bradford. Graduates, parents, families, friends, faculty, alumni, I am truly honored to be here today. It is my distinct pleasure to address the graduating classes from the MBA program, the Masters of Finance, Masters of Accountancy, and the Executive MBA program. Congratulations. Now, essentially, for the vast majority of you, this is the end of your formal academic career. You will re-engage with the business world as changed individuals. Your time at Vanderbilt, under the tutelage of this outstanding faculty, the intellectual nourishment of your fellow classmates, the Friday afternoons of SATCO, which Eric and Adina told me were quite enjoyable, certainly provided the cauldron for learning and growth. If I was to hazard a guess, I would guess that every single one of you graduates that I see before me today in their business life before attending the Owen School could be typecast as a highly motivated, high intellectual content, strong contributor to their assignments. I stereotype so freely, confident in my predictions, because I see in front of me individuals who have moved themselves and possibly families, interrupted their careers, sacrificed their income, and have been chosen among many outstanding candidates who applied, and they persevered and thrived against an unrelenting and rigorous curriculum. As you enter the next stage of your career, I and others in similar positions to myself see in you and others in similar positions as the future leaders of our economy. Many of you in this class will ascend to the highest rungs of your chosen career. The question I will attempt to answer today is really the big question. What is the ingredient that will assure the upward direction in your chosen career? I am no more qualified or unqualified than any other to pontificate on what are the essential qualities of success. But since I've been given the microphone in 20 minutes, I intend to use the time and the technology. Now, NASDAQ OMX has over 4,000 companies listed on our 22 markets, as the Dean mentioned. I have the great opportunity to interact with and learn from many of the CEOs of these great institutions, and after each meeting, I force myself to conjecture as to what was the secret ingredient that catapulted this individual to the very top of their chosen career path. In addition, at NASDAQ OMX, we have developed an identification, tracking, and training system for our high potential employees, the future leaders of our organization. I take great pleasure in getting to know as many of these individuals as possible. It is an interesting and somewhat fascinating exercise to compare the contours of a meeting with a successful CEO and a meeting with a high potential aspiring CEO. My first comment would be that these meetings are typically very different. The high potential individual has primarily achieved that status by being the smartest person in the room. This individual is typically the content expert in their area, is very happy to discuss this content at whatever level of detail desired or not, at any time or any place. This individual is typically maniacally focused, executes the given workload extraordinarily well, and learned certain political skills to be so recognized. These individuals are the true backbone of an organization and a credit to themselves and the institution. A typical private meeting, however, with the CEO will start with certain obligatory touch points. The sorry state of their golf game because of the time demands of their job, and a criticism of the state of government. I am guilty of both of those conversational gambits. In the hundreds of private companies and CEOs that I've engaged in my 7 years at NASDAQ, there are some very consistent characteristics. CEOs tend to have a very self-effacing, self-deprecating manner of speaking of themselves, their knowledge, and their abilities. They seem to know, they seem to sense the vast amount of what they do not know. They also have an insatiable desire to speak of the outside world, whether it be geopolitical issues, macroeconomic trends, the news of the day, the world in 18 months or in 18 years. The mental image I have developed is the CEO is certainly the captain of the ship, but this is a captain who is humbled by the knowledge that many within the ship have much greater knowledge of the operations than himself, and the CEO captain is also humbled by the endless external vista of the roiling seas that they must navigate but can never control. Certainly this image is dramatically different than the popular perception of the imperial CEO, imparting wisdom to the trembling masses. And I realize that those CEOs do exist, at least for a period of time, but do recognize the average tenure of a public company CEO is less than 4 years. They are, in my extensive experience, the exception. So the question today is, what is the necessary transformation for the graduates seated here today that will allow them to cross the chasm from best individual contributor the smartest person in the room to the captain of the ship, keenly aware of what they do not know while providing inspiration to others. Let me first speak from my personal experience. I have three distinct phases of my career. I started my career at a mainframe company called Burroughs Corporation. I'm sure most of the professors remember. It was a large global organization that was a very distant second to IBM. I started as a sales rep in the Wall Street area where mainframes were the size of houses and calculators the size of laptop computers, and they ruled the earth. It was a wonderful time to be in the mainframe business. The learning experience was intense. Each year I earned more money than the previous year, and remarkably enough seemed to win many of the promotions that became available. During the decade I was at Burroughs, I was maniacally focused on a given task at hand, performed well enough to rise to middle management. During this decade, noticed but not processed by myself, the technology industry was in fact flourishing away from the traditional mainframe suppliers. This time gave birth to the first 32-bit mini computer by Digital Equipment, the development of the shared word processor by Wang Computers, and most importantly, the development of a software industry independent of the traditional hardware manufacturers. At the end of my tenure at Unisys, the resultant company from the merger of two mainframe companies, Burroughs and Sperry Univac, I was at a management offsite where the top 100 managers would gather to map out the future path. By this time, it was apparent that the mainframe market was going to endure a long decline. We had missed just about all the new opportunities over the past decade. But there was new opportunities in technology, more than one could reasonably hope for, and there was actually a palpable excitement in the room as we mapped out our way forward. It was at that point of excitement that I learned an enduring life lesson, and I knew my time at Unisys had come to an end. The solutions to our problems had revealed itself. The people in the room were serious professionals who cared deeply about the company, but I realized the people in the room did not have the power, the organizational structure to execute upon that vision. The results of that meeting would vanish into the eternal ether of things that should be but never were. I came away determined to make a career choice where I was in a position to have the power to control my own destiny, to live by my wits, and recognize that hardware margins would decline over time and that software was the promised land where marginal profit approached 100%. I chose an entrepreneurial route and joined a company with 5 employees with the intention of building a software platform for NASDAQ market makers. The founder of the company was past traditional retirement age. Our chosen market, NASDAQ market makers, was quite finite, and I was focused on succeeding or failing on the qualities of my decisions. These 3 factors resulted in us building a company that was remarkably successful over the ensuing decade, a great asset for a larger company to buy, but an institution that could not thrive over time. I was a micromanager from hell. I made literally all the decisions in the company, and we did not develop anything near an effective semblance of middle management. I rationalized my actions by the fact the company would never get so large and would be sold before before my management style would endanger the future of the organization. I also rationalized my actions by the fact that as a person from a family of 5 children with a dad who worked for the post office, this is probably my only chance to reach for the American dream. And as a result of my Unisys experience, I was comforted by the thought of succeeding or failing on my own. I obviously had not learned the true lesson of the Unisys experience. We did sell the company in 1999 in one of the last pooling of interest transactions for the accounting majors at a price that we would not have dreamed of 2 years previously. That company was acquired by a large public company, which itself was a global roll-up of disparate assets in the financial software space. Within 3 months of the acquisition, I was twice promoted and given the mandate, because of my wonderful management skills, to transform 28 discrete businesses, all of which had been separately acquired, each with distinct cultures, into an integrated operating organization. Each of these businesses competed in their own arcane corner of the financial world. I was essentially a hardware guy who had learned the equity world as well as anybody, but was clueless as to many asset classes and any geography outside of the U.S. One of the life-changing events occurred when I was leaving one of the 28 operating companies, this one located in Stockholm, realizing that I did not really understand what their product did, how it competed, and how the business would grow. And that in the best case scenario, my schedule would allow me to return to Stockholm in 4 months. I could not articulate it at the time, but at that moment I realized the smartest guy in the room approach, which I had subconsciously adopted as an entrepreneur, would allow me to completely fail as a manager and as a leader in a global corporate setting. Embedded in the smartest guy in the room approach is a massive dose of ego. I had to realize that ego had become the silent partner with a controlling interest. Our high potential individuals are programmed to talk in me first terms. They are rewarded for these individual contributions, but as they and you in the graduating class climb to the echelons of power in your chosen field, the rules of the game will change, the requirements for success will change. If you attempt to drive success in organizations that you have responsibility for by managing primarily through the act of your intelligence and desire, success, if achieved, will leave you myopic and your organization enfeebled. Failure will leave you and your organization demoralized and unable to recoup and fight another day. These changes in the requirements for success will be real to you as you take on your second career. They can be as swift and as dramatic as in my personal example, but for most times they are slow and subtle. And the failure to see and feel this changing landscape is the primary reason that people of such promise, such potential, do not cross the chasm. The last comment I will add on this topic is that removing the mantle of being the smartest guy in the room is liberating. You are liberated to learn freely from all people. You are receptive to new concepts. You find yourselves watching the roiling seas. You become the captain that this great university has trained you to become. Now, in all graduation speeches, you have to have one quote. I haven't had any yet, so I will add one on the fly. Now, I have been a lifelong Bob Dylan fan, and he did record an album down here in Nashville called Nashville Skyline, and he did it as he was escaping the tumult of the 60s. But he has a line I think speaks directly to what I speak to here as you step away from being the smartest person in the room. And the line is, I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. And I'm younger to obviously embrace new experience, new ways of thinking, and truly to grow as an individual. Now, as we stand here today, as it gets warmer by the minute, we realize that, in fact, many days are long, many days are hard, many times adversity seems to overtake the good things in your life. Most days are a mixture of both bad and good. There are very few days that are an unqualified good. As we sit here on a beautiful day in May, and we reflect upon your wonderful achievement on this commencement day, you must take the time to realize that this is one of those rare days when it is all good. Congratulations to the class of 2010. Enjoy.
So in keeping with the quote, every graduation speaker has to have a gift. And so it's our great honor to bestow this gift to you, Bob.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I, too, was a great Bob Dylan fan, and my favorite line that he sang was, everybody's got to serve somebody. So I think that's what we're about here. It's my honor to call John Lehman to the stand and ask him to recognize the achievements and awards of our students. John?
Well, there's no question that this is a special class, And in my view, you are award-winning, all of you individually. In fact, I would say, right now, I can say unequivocally that this is one hot class. I have the honor of recognizing our students for some very notable academic awards now. We've mentioned several awards during the weekend, but I'm going to focus on the academic awards. So students, as I announce your name, please stand and be recognized. The Dean's Award for Academic Excellence in the Masters of Accountancy is presented annually to a graduating student from the Master of Accountancy program who has achieved the strongest record in personal, professional, and academic performance in meeting the requirements of the degree. Congratulations, Rhett Taylor. The Dean's Award for Academic Excellence in the Masters of Science in Finance is presented annually to a graduating student from the Master of Science in Finance program who has achieved the strongest record in personal, professional, and academic performance in meeting the requirements of this degree. Congratulations to Philip Markschlager. The Dean's Award for Academic Excellence in the Executive MBA is presented annually to a graduating student from the Executive MBA program who has achieved the strongest record in personal, professional, and academic performance in meeting the requirements of this degree. Red Zeller, congratulations. The Bruce D. Henderson Scholarship is awarded to an Owen student who during the first year of the MBA program shows brilliance, originality of thought, and thoroughness of investigation. 2 Owen students tied for the highest GPA last year, Eric Bilbrey and Kara Tregsweiler. Please stand. The Founders Medal signifies first honors to the MBA graduating student who has achieved the strongest record in academic performance in meeting the requirements of the MBA degree. The Founders Medal was presented earlier this morning in the main ceremony, and I would like to ask Eric Bilbrey to stand again. Beta Gamma Sigma is the International Honor Society for Business Administration. Students must rank in the top 20% of the graduating class to be eligible for Beta Gamma Sigma and are elected on the basis of their academic record. The students who were recognized individually at a banquet earlier in April. Will all the students that are members of Beta Gamma Sigma please stand? And now I would like to invite Tripp Schubert, Owen Student Government Association President, to come to the stage to announce the Webb Award for Excellence in Teaching.
The James A. Webb Award for Excellence in Teaching was endowed by the Nashville City Bank, later First Union National Bank of Tennessee, now Wachovia, to honor James A. Webb, Jr. for his contributions as CEO and chairman from 1973 to 1988. This cash prize is awarded at commencement to an Owen faculty member who is selected by the students in the graduating class. We know that we have so many outstanding teachers and really have been inspired by so many, but we can only award one. Before I announce the winner, I'd like to honor 4 faculty members who, in the eyes of our classmates, have been outstanding and exceptional teachers. Those 4 faculty members are Nancy Heyer, Craig Lewis, Gary Scudder, and Tim Vogus. Truly, thank you for all that you have done for us as exceptional teachers inside the classroom. And now I'd like to award the James A. Webb Award recipient for 2010, Mike Shore.
I would now like to invite Michael Piana to present the EMBA Teaching Award.
It's an honor to announce the 2010 Executive MBA Teacher of the Year Award, and I thank my peers for this privilege. Our class had a tough decision to make, and there was a lot of discussion, emails, and debate on choosing the Professor of the Year. But first, I think we all came to Owen in large part due to the school's reputation, a reputation that's directly linked to the outstanding faculty. And each faculty member that worked with the IMBA program made a positive impact on us and provided us with knowledge and a tool set that we will take with us into our careers. And my class would like to recognize and thank each faculty member for a job well done. You make Owen very strong. Our selection for Teacher of the Year was not easy, but this professor combined humor, knowledge, and class discussion to engage each class member and create value for us all. This professor was not afraid to use wit to keep us in check and implemented and introduced creative games and activities to drive home important topics. This professor's ability to show us the importance of the course directly influenced our ability to raise over $135,000 in our class gift endowment and drive us to 100% participation in Owen First. This professor is a celebrated co-author and author of a famous economics book. He is also a distinguished Owen graduate. Personally, this professor not only gave me a new appreciation of Photoshop, but taught me that supplier power is always high. Brian McCann, you're our Teacher of the Year.
So it's my pleasure to introduce a couple of faculty research awards. But first, graduates and friends, may I present the intellectual capital of the school, the people who you loved and who challenged you, the faculty of the Owen Graduate School of Management. Colleagues, please stand and turn to the audience. You too. You too. Next, I have the pleasure of presenting two faculty awards. First, Professor Steve Posavec has earned the Owen Award for Research Productivity. If you could come up. Steve Posavec is the E. Bronson Ingram Professor in Marketing. His research focuses on consumer judgment and decision processes, advertising and persuasion, and valuation of environmental amenities. His research has appeared in all of the top marketing publications, including the Journal of Consumer Psychology, Journal of Consumer Research, Journal of Marketing Research, Journal of Economic Psychology. For example, in a recent paper, Posavec studies patterns in information search that are narrow and confirming, which lead to decision-making biases. The biases are prevalent and robust. Even experienced executives make these predictable errors. The good news is that Posavec also shows you how to educate decision-makers so that they may avoid these cognitive errors. I'll leave you with that provocative mystery. If you want to know the answers, ask Steve for a copy of his paper. And finally, some news that even maybe our graduates might not know. Professor Steve Posavec was recently promoted to full professor. Graduate and colleagues, please join me in congratulating Professor Posavec for his promotion and for this highly deserved award for research productivity. These are t-shirts, right? Next, Professor Bruce Coyle has earned the Owen Award for Research Impact. Bruce Coyle is the Dean Samuel B. and Evelyn R. Richmond Professor of Management. He's one of our statistics professors, and he conducts research in a wide array of business arenas, including medical malpractice, automobile insurance claims, and models of customer loyalty. To give you a sense of this Renaissance man's areas of interest, here are some of his recent papers' titles: The Long-Term Stock Market Valuation of Customer Satisfaction, A Latent Class Model of Learnings, Call Center Satisfaction and Customer Retention, and Juice Powder Concentrate and Systemic Blood Pressure. We like well-rounded colleagues. Professor Coyle's publications have appeared in the top business, stats, and medical journals, including the Journal of American Statistical Association, the Annals of Probability, and the New England Journal of Medicine. Graduate and colleagues, please join me in congratulating Professor Bruce Coyle for this highly deserved award.
So we've come to that part of the program that we've all been waiting for, perhaps, and that is the awarding of the degrees. And I would ask Professor Carl Hackenbrack to come forward, and we will begin with the Masters of Accountancy degrees.
The Masters of Accountancy class of 2010 proceed across the stage once I say your name and receive your diploma from Dean Bradford. Abrar Ahmed. Philip George Abrar. Patrick Ryan Butcher. Robert Meadows Carpenter, Jr. Charles Randolph Carroll. George Parrish Easterly. Lauren Michelle Finnis. William Owen Fitzpatrick. Michael Kuhn. Ashley Christine Kushner. Matthew Lefkowitz. Kendall Davis Marston. Jennifer Marie Martin. David Herlin Mayer. Charlotte Geraldine M. Nicholson. Nicole Leanne Lapazzo. Elizabeth Ann Palma. Jeffrey Cole Smith. William Kevin Smith, Jr. Rhett William Taylor. James Trupiano. Kelly Ann Vila. Justin Andrew Whalen. Erin Kathleen Whitty. Kathleen Mary Woodwick.
And I would ask Professor Nick Boland to come forward to bestow and name the Masters of Finance Awards, and also recognize Nick for his promotion to full professor, and also for coming here after having molar surgery yesterday. So.
The class of 2010 Master of Science and Finance students, as I announce your name, please come forward to receive your diploma. Rahul Agrawal. Andrew Martins Almeida. Ryan David Armstrong. Joseph Colin Berg. Meredith McNair Blunt. Samuel Anthony Casciola, Jr. Vincent Siming Chan. Amanda Nicole Creech. Trevor Daring. Eric Spencer Fielding. James Turner Fisher. Jonah Timothy Hescock. Christopher Aaron Johnson. Heoan Shurega Kadane. Jan Ma. Philip Markschlager. Matthew Charles McCarville. Anthony Monzo. Hiryang Daniel Park. Michael Pasalenko. Christian Radoslavov Radev. James Austin Rissler. Babak Shamardi. Chin Song Wang. John Wang. James Simpson Woods. Guanan Zhang. Yi Yue Zhang.
And if Associate Dean Tammy Fassinger, if you would come present and call the names for the executive class.
The class of 2010, as I call your name, please cross the stage to receive your diploma. Ogechi Agana Anwatone. Emily Suzanne Bartlett. Gregory Brent Blankenship. William Craig Brooks. William Lorenzo Brown III. Michael Ray Bryant. Kevin Ray Coward. Laurent Cross. John Hartnett Crossland. Charlie Alexander Crow. Jeffrey Scott Deaton. Douglas Dale Edwards. Michael G. Erickson. Brandy Marie Forbes. William Ryan Fulkerson. Andrew James Graham. Brian Lee Harrett. Adrian Elizabeth John Cooper. David Michael Johnson. William Chad Johnson. Philip James Krieger. Chandra Shekhar Kumbar. Marshall Leslie. Jeffrey Lowe. Mark A. McCaw. Aaron Allen McClendon. Darren J. Meyerson. Corey Wayne Moore. David L. Parks. Michael Mario Piana. Mario Ramos Lara. Kevin Bertman Ryan. Lee Jameson Shue. Jason Richard Scott. Theodore John Scripps. William Alfonso Singleton III. Brant Smith. Mary T. Special. James Sungmin Suh. Chander Sundaresan. Bradley D. Tidwell. Troy Wallace Williams. Meyer Eden Wilson will be presented his diploma by his father, Mickey Wilson, from 84. Aaron Withers. Reginald Zeller. Jim, can you present? You're next.
I'm going to ask Kelly Christie if she would come forward to present the MBA awards. Thank you.
Please come forward as I call your name. Derek Andrew Christopher is earning MD this morning as well, so he is going at the front of the line. Wyatt Rex Allen. Aaron Olivia Anderson. Douglas James Archibald. Tejumade Ushai. Paul Armand Osper. Russell Andy Autry. Erica Marie Bacon. Nathaniel Hubble Banks. Stephen Banks. Edward Collins Bayer. Michael Berger. Thomas James Bernstein. Joshua Mark Burse. Jose Biasca. Richard Lewis Bierbaum. Eric Keith Bilbrey. James Brent Blaine. Thomas Noyes Blodgett, Jr. Andrew Jonathan Bolden. Joseph Leslie Bollier. Emily Rash Bowden. Sapna Lathia Bowes. Alexander Rich Brayton. Joshua Randall Brister. Robert A. Brooks. Carolyn Page Brown. Christopher Ryan Brown. Daniel R. Bryant. McQueen Calvert. David Richard Carlson. David Ricardo Castaneda. Bradford Lyndon Kayer. Riju Chaco. Ivan Ricardo Chamorro. Shuiting Chang. Jung-ho Cho. Thomas Cho. Erica Summers Clements. Matthew Christopher Clemson. Neely Coble. Miguel Alfredo Coles. Jonathan Richard Collins. Hannah Sakuma Kroom. Frederick David Curcio IV. Marie Ruth DeAngler. Jeffrey DeWild. Paul Harrington Dent. Drew L. Dixon. Rishi Kumar Dosage. Natasha Dubé. Allison Carter Durham. Allison Lynn Earnhardt. Melissa Ashley English. Michael R. Ewell. Nicholas Albert Joseph Ferreira. Evan Paul Forte. Virginia Francis. Jonathan Tyler Freed. Jeffrey Michael Freud. Darren Michael Guest. Jennifer Louise Giannis. Lowell Goldman. Noah Goldman. Bridget Marie Graff. Ankit Gupta. Michael Hadipospito. Jason Lee Heidick. Matthew Thomas Hancock. Leah Nicole Harris. William Andrews Morton Heckman. Scott Allen Hensley. Russell Allen Henson. Catherine Chapin Hertel. Nathaniel Wallace Height. Kristen Kelly Hodges. Lucas Dean Honstein. Mangtao Hu. Hiroshi Hyakumoto. Alejo Jose Icaza. Clarence Washington James II. Lara Yasavachuta. Candace Cherie Johnson. Shane William Kaiser. Blaine William Kauk. Peter Laufer Kleinberg. Kelly Diane Coopers. Woong Kwan. Ryan Thomas Kyle. Adam Jason Lambert. David Joshua Levy. Noah Lidman. Jason Christopher Lyles. William Nathan Lyles. Yen Ting Lin. Chen Chi Liu. Louis Liu. Ellery Long. Erica Pearl Long. Gonzalo Lopez Fontella. Manik Mahajan. Alex Brantley McCrary. Michael Gavin McDowell. Matthew McKee. Thomas Blount Miles. Christopher John Morgan. James Thun Win. Rachel Lee Nickel. Brendan B. O'Hearn. Mark Oliveri Jr. Dorothy Ann Owens. Michael David Euler. Jared Austin Pardue. Joseph A. Parise. Benjamin Bryant Parks. James Andrew Patton. Patrick Curlin Philippi. Richard Nolan Pittman. Mills Huffman Ramsey. Stephanie Madeline Ramsey. John Reese III. Gavin John Ritchie. John P. Robella. Kimberly Ann Roller. William Monroe Rogers. Raymond James Schmatzer. Stephen Howard Schwartz. Min Shen. Richard E. Schubert III. Vikramjit Singh Sidhu. Manandeep Singh. Charu Solanki. Stephen Gerald Sanji. David Chambers Spencer. Andrew Stahl. Andrew Golden Steffens. Charles Perry Still. Hidekazu Sugo. Raymond Michael Sumner. Juan Jose Thorne. Kara Lynn Tragseiler. Lua Tran. John Trierweiler. Laura Meredith Trott. Heidi Lynn Wallenhorst. David Spencer Waz. Habiba Wazirudin. Christopher W. Weingartner. Kevin P. White. Lindsay Snow White. Eleanor Royal Williams. Birch Shannon Wood. Bhupendra Kumar Yadov. Yan Zhang. Yu Zheng. The following 3 students received a Juris Doctor this morning in the law school, so they are at the end of the line. Ryan David Arndt. Stephen Bernard Berneman. John A. Schoaf IV.
We've just about reached the conclusion of today's ceremonies, and I want to thank all of you for coming and for participating in this momentous event. This time is a great opportunity for all of us to celebrate and a time to remember those less fortunate than we. We are particularly mindful as I think about the needs of others as we recently experienced severe flooding in this area. It is heartwarming and has been heartwarming to watch individuals of this class, of our faculty, of our staff, of this community helping out each other in their time of need. I urge you to go forth and do great things, to do well, but I also urge you to go forth and work for others. I'll leave you with one quote, since every graduation speech now has to have 2 quotes, I suspect. But one of the individuals whose wisdom I have great reliance in, it's a man named John Wesley. He left with these words, which are guiding words to me in my life. Do all you can by all means you can, in all ways you can, in all places you can, in all times you can, to all people you can, for as long as you can. Enjoy. We're concluded. Thank you so much.